November the 4th.
There's gonna be so many people on fucking Facebook thinking they're all clever because they watched a movie once.
Yep. Hey everybody, it's Tuesday, November the 4th, 2020. This is the Fourth and Wrong Podcast. I'm your host, RJ. Joining me as always is Keith. Say hi, Keith.
Hi, Keith. I almost drink water.
Oh, like as you had to
the
hide.
the timing would have been
Uh-huh.
Hi, Keith.
Uh-huh.
So I chose to do it anyways.
Yeah, just follow through with the joke, fuck it.
And now I have water in my sinus.
Nice. Do you feel like you just got COVID tested?
Not quite. That was more of like an up here thing.
Uh-huh.
This is kind of a back here thing.
Yeah, it's more of an
You know.
in the ears, not up the nose.
Yeah, you know when it hits the dingly thing in the back of your throat?
Uh-huh.
Wop joke.
Yes. No, I got it. You've reached the middle stage of hating things.
Where I'm starting to do it ironically, and soon I'm just going to accept it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. See, although I agree with you, I still feel like I've deferred far enough away from just the adjective joke
Uh-huh.
to where I feel okay with making WAP jokes as long as it's not like those WAP jokes.
You're just quoting lyrics because it's like, fuck it, that's close enough.
Yeah, I mean, I want to be part of the the whole thing too.
Part of the zeitgeist.
Look at my hair. My hair's doing cool things today.
Yeah, you got long. Yeah, it's getting all long and swoopy.
I look very pretty.
It's only for you 6 people who watch this shit online, and by 6 I mean 4, because Keith and I are 2 of them.
Yeah.
Thank you
Matt,
for
do you
watching.
think I'm pretty? He'll say yes.
Of course. I think you're pretty. But
Matt's my main bitch.
Okay. Can we talk about football now, or we got other things to?
I've
What were you playing with scissors with before we started this?
I was re-wicking my vape.
Ah, okay. He's a ghosty boy.
What do you think I was doing?
I literally didn't know, which is why I asked.
Fuck.
I did not have a guess. For those of you playing the home game, this is day 3 of me without alcohol. Hooray!
You love to see it.
Yeah. So we'll see how this goes. First podcast.
I think it would go fine. It's not like we were drinking in excess while recording these to begin with. So
Yeah.
yeah,
We were drinking in egress.
Yeah, you would only get like 1 or 2 in by the time we were done.
It's true. Like, at the rate we had to talk about things, there was not a lot of sip time.
Mm-hmm. But speaking about talking about things,
Let's talk about talking about things. No, let's just talk about things.
let's just talk about things.
Let's just talk about things.
through the normal pattern.
Yeah, we got a rut. Let's stick to it.
The sky is falling.
So the Browns are a 6-point team.
The sky is falling.
Dude, what happened?
Yo, dog. Dude, that game was ugly as fuck, bro, and here's why. All right, so it was in Cleveland.
Uh-huh.
It was cold.
Oh, I saw...
It was sleeting.
I saw
and there was,
the kick.
Yeah, and there was 35-mile-an-hour winds. So it very quickly became a possession game.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was like, all right, get ahead and then just like hold on to the ball, because that's all we can physically do. We can run the ball and we can hold on to the ball, and that's it. And Josh Jacobs ran all over us. Myles Garrett was injured, so we had no pressure on fucking Derek Carr, who didn't even have to do much. Yeah, we had to start using Myles Garrett as like basically a rotational third down pass rusher.
Did he get a sack?
No. So he's first time he hasn't had a sack since week 1.
No.
So the streak is broken. Baker threw under 40 or under 50%.
Olivier Vernon had to though. That's not bad.
Yeah, and the rest of the D line tried to keep up, but like the biggest metrics that I took away from the game was Las Vegas had 20 plus first downs.
Yeah.
And had 37 minutes time of possession to Cleveland's 22.
And they also converted 57% of their third downs.
Right, and they were constantly converting third. So it was everything we could do to get them off the field. Like they didn't have to score because they got ahead by 10 and then just kind of fucking sat on it in the fourth quarter. Hell, even when it was tied at the half, they were perfectly content just fucking when it got tied in the third quarter, they were perfectly content just sitting on it until they took advantage of a quick passing touchdown from Derek Carr. It was the ugliest game of football that I watched Cleveland play since the last 2 times they only had one score this season. But as far as weather games are concerned, even though it wasn't quite as snowy and miserable, this had serious remnants of like the fucking Snow Bowl in Buffalo from like 2009 and shit. It was just windy and ugly and shitty.
Yeah.
And there's almost nothing positive to take away from it because Odell's out for the season. Myles Garrett was ineffective due to an injury. Baker Mayfield's still dealing with a lingering rib injury. There was a lot of drops. He had like 5 drops from his receivers. Jarvis Landry had a almost reception that got turned over. It was like the biggest play of the game for us. It was a 20-yard reception that he bobbled on the way and it got turned over. And that forced us into another field goal where we had an opportunity to score and make the game competitive again. And then Austin Hooper was out because he had an appendectomy, so he's recovering from a fucking surgery.
Jeez, yeah.
Running, but obviously Nick Chubb's still injured. Kareem Hunt was relatively effective, but we couldn't utilize him because even though it was a day where we needed to rely on the run game, I guess the offense felt like they couldn't because of going down the way we did. But I think we could have leaned on the run a little bit more and create more opportunities in the passing game, but like our receivers were largely ineffective. Like the whole thing was a fucking mess. Like Olivier Vernon was like the bright spot. And Ronnie Harrison Jr. did fine with cleaning up tackles. We're starting to see some rotational players stepping up and playing some decent football. But like you got to take it all with a grain of salt because the weather pretty much limited the facets of how these offenses could play. I am almost convinced if we had as perfect a weather as you can get in First Energy Stadium, with the way the defense and offense were banged up in this game, Las Vegas would have fucking ran away with it. Like just straight up ran away with it because there was literally no indication coming into this game that we could stop Derek Carr. The weather stopped Derek Carr for us. But in turn, it also completely eliminated any offensive progression that we had that game.
I was going to say, stop their kicker a little bit, too.
Yeah, but fortunately, it wasn't...
Maybe the windiest kick I've ever seen.
Yeah, like, it was awful. It was miserable. It was ugly football. Like, that thing almost hooked back into the fucking kicking formation. Like, it was hard to watch. Sendejo's still a bum. Like, the dude looks like a fucking statue out there. I mean, he's fucking 45 million years old. He was literally only there to be like a veteran presence, and injuries thrust him into a starting position. And like he's fucking old and sucks. And like there's some fucking... This is not... obviously not how I wanted the game to turn out, but it was... At least I can say... This is one of the few things I can take away from this game. It wasn't all our fault. acts of God contributed to the lack of efficiency as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't do anything to, squash any doubts, both internally and externally, about Baker Mayfield and his ability to perform. I think, me personally, I'm going to kind of take this game and just kind of put it away as far as a direct reflection of Baker Mayfield's ability, because you put any quarterback in those conditions and they're going to struggle.
Not Josh Allen.
Dude, what?
He's got an arm to throw through anything. It cuts. It's like a hot knife through butter.
Yeah, it's just if only he could hit the butter.
I mean, listen.
So really, the big thing that I can do is just kind of chalk this one up and just move on with my fucking life.
I have a couple notes or observations from at least watching the highlights.
Sure.
It did seem like Jarvis Landry was basically trying to carry the entire team with his efforts.
He almost had to.
I still feel like Kareem Hunt had an efficient day overall. I mean, he had 4.7 yards per carry, so that's not bad. It's just, he didn't have a career day or anything.
Sure.
We talked about how you said getting the ball and sitting on it was basically the way to go. Did you know the third quarter had 2 possessions?
Yeah. I didn't note it, but shit like that, man. It's so frustrating. Almost unwatchable football as far as like an entertainment standpoint is concerned. Like both quarterbacks averaged poorly. Both quarterbacks didn't do anything to light up the stat sheet. It was just a slog. It was a fucking slog.
Yeah. And then my last note is just that Josh Jacobs carried the Raiders with 31 carries for 128 yards.
Yeah, he was efficient, and
didn't get in the end zone, but
never got in the end zone. But he put him. I mean, he gave him 3 scoring opportunities pretty much. It was. I'm just happy that we have a bye week this week.
Yeah, we got 2 more weeks until our bye week.
Yeah, so I can just take a break. I wanted to go into the bye 6-2, obviously, for obvious reasons. You want to go into the bye on a win. But, like, this bye, I feel like, is more important, less for locker room mentality and more for getting healthy. The people that are playing through these nagging injuries, we need a week. We genuinely need a week, especially because we're getting into the easier part of our schedule. So we're going to, like, once we come out of the bye week a little healthier, hopefully, and we start hitting the easy meat of our schedule, because from this point on, we have statistically one of the easiest schedules in the league. The only big outliers is the Titans, the Ravens, and the Steelers. We play the Texans, the Eagles, the Jags, and the Giants and the Jets. So we have 3 games that are winnable, but that may be a toss-up, and then the rest of the schedule is easy. It's a cupcake schedule. But we got to go into it healthy, because if anything has shown us this season, we keep getting into shootouts with bad teams, and we're not going to be able to maintain that pace of play without key pieces being able to contribute a lot more than they have been, because those key pieces are playing banged up. Jarvis Landry's playing hurt, Myles Garrett's playing hurt, Baker Mayfield's playing hurt, Austin Cooper's not even playing. So, and the defense, they're hurt forever. So I'm not even worried about them. I'm just looking to go out, like, we're going to be going out through the rest of the season on Blaze of Glory, just trying to get in shootouts with everybody, because it's obvious this defense is not going to do us any fucking favors.
All right, we got anything else? Or is that basically all of the pain we have for this week?
That's it as far as the game's concerned.
Okay.
Short Cleveland news. Some players... So starting Monday, they conducted all team meetings and stuff remotely because we have players that are showing symptoms of the COVIDs. No positives yet, but they immediately went into an appropriate level of precaution, so we're just kind of keeping our eye on that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to be the first to know, 6 listeners, ESPN probably, but it'll also, I'll retweet it. Is Shefty back? Because I retweet his shit all the time.
I think so.
Good.
He was on McAfee the other day, so.
Got you. So, Shefty will tweet it, and then I'll retweet it. So follow us on Twitter.
There you go. Did you guys make any last-minute moves here at the trade deadline?
Not that I saw. Nothing significant.
Okay. All right. Then we will move on to the Bills and the Pats game.
Hey.
Buffalo versus the Patriots.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
So the Bills are 4-0 in the division. Suck it.
6-0 on the year, or 6-2 rather on the year.
Yeah.
Definitively in number uno in the AFC East.
Yeah, definitively, and we at least break even on all tiebreakers now.
Sick.
So we still play Miami one more time, and we still play New England one more time in New England, at the end of the year. But the Patriots are 2-5 now. Oh, how the mighty have fallen.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mind being the bully in the division for right now. And if Greg ever hears this, yes, I'm talking about you too. Your team sucks. It sucks so bad. It's the worst team in the league. Enjoy your new quarterback. You've already broken one. Don't break the second one.
Yeah.
That's my Jets minute for this week. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Greg. So as far as the game goes, the running game finally showed up.
Looks like it.
Which was nice. Both Devin Singletary and Zach Moss broke 80 yards. Zach Moss really did a surprising amount of heavy lifting by getting into the end zone twice. He did so, I believe, on our first drive, which I didn't see because I was still driving back or getting my shit together on Sunday.
Yeah.
And then in the third quarter on our first drive, he got in the end zone again. To be fair, so this prompted some people to start talking about Zach Moss is the new number one running back in Buffalo. And I'm like, no. First of all, no. And second of all, no. New England is terrible against the run. God awful. Yeah. So New England's 27th in run defense, and people are suddenly clamoring for Zach Moss because the rookie came in and had a good game. Again, if you look at the stat sheet, Devin Singletary put up 5 more yards. I mean, he still was out there, doing the same thing.
Yeah, I would say that Zach Moss and Devin Singletary, from my side of the fence, both had an equivalently good game.
Yeah.
In a committee scheme. I noticed a little Buffalo rushing stat. Josh Allen, 10 carries. How many of those were designed runs?
Again, I didn't see. I got to the game with 2 minutes left in the first half.
Gotcha.
But still a fair number. I mean, you can see he only passed it 18 times.
Yep.
So, but that was kind of the story from both sides. Was Cam and Josh were both game managing and trying to let the run game take over for the most part. I mean, Cam threw it a little bit more, but still only 25 attempts, and still 174 yards with no touchdowns. Josh got in on a rushing touchdown. He did also throw a pick, if I remember correctly. It was a tip.
Yes.
Or no. It was a Diggs on an out route, or not an out route, on kind of a wheel. That's not right either. Whatever. He was running up the sideline, and basically he cut towards the sideline instead of cutting in towards the numbers. And Josh threw it the opposite direction, and the corner was just like, "That's mine." So it seemed like mostly miscommunication on that front, because Stephon put up 92 yards on 6 catches himself, which was pretty much all that Josh threw, on Sunday.
Yeah. Considering Stephon had more than half of Josh Allen's completions.
Right. So basically, we ran by committee, they ran by committee. It was kind of funny towards the end of the game, just how much of a mirror match it was. You know, because the whole big thing is, like, it's the Josh Allen, Cam Newton game. And maybe they talked about it earlier in the game, of, like, comparing the two of them. But by the time we had gotten to this point, like, points were on the board. And, you know, the commentators had other shit to talk about.
Sure.
But, you know, it's the thing where it's like they're both 6'5", highly athletic, big dudes.
Cannon for arms. Struggle with accuracy at times.
Yeah.
Josh Allen's the white Cam Newton. I've been saying it for a while now.
So they had a very similar game down to the same point where when Josh called his number and ran it into the end zone, on the next drive, they drove all the way down and then Cam ran it into the end zone. And it was like, okay, you guys, seriously. And so we didn't really close the game out. We really should have had 28 points. Or 27 points. No, 28.
Well, 28 would have mean 2 safeties at some point.
Well, no. So we should have driven for a touchdown on our last drive instead of getting a field goal. But we came up short on that. Because I think we're still number 1 in the league in third down conversion percentage. Which is a crazy stat because for so many years it was like, oh, third down, grab your helmet. I mean, again, we talked about this on an earlier podcast where Micah Hyde said exactly that.
Yep.
So it should have been 28-21. But our guy here, Justin Zimmer, who you can't really see, goes and punches that ball out from Cam Newton as they're like driving down the field. And they're doing it in like the scary Patriots way. Where it's like, we're coming down the field and you gave us 2 minutes and we're not using our timeouts and we're getting out of bounds here and there, but we're also eating this clock, so when we're done, you're not going to have any fucking thing left.
It was that strange wind of a Belichick comeback in the air.
It's like, oh no, this guy's done it before.
Yeah.
And you saw it coming. And then out of nowhere, this fucking barrel-chested fucking tank of a man comes rumbling around the corner and goes bap and punches Cameron right in his fucking hands, and he drops that ball. And then our backup safety Dean Marlowe runs up and scoops it, and that's the game because there's like 30 seconds left, and I went, holy shit.
Squawk out of there. Squawk
to duck.
Squeaked that one out.
Yeah. So in squawking that one out, we moved to 6-2, 4-0 in the division. And the funny thing is Miami's got the best shot at catching us.
Weird.
So weird game.
Weird game.
Not necessarily a good game. But, and again, if you look at the overall team stats, like very even, like throughout the entire game. Like New England lost 1 fumble, Buffalo threw 1 interception. They allowed 2 sacks, we allowed 1. They had 50% third down, we had 45% third down conversion. The time of possession was 30 minutes and 46 seconds to 29-14. Like, it's a close ass game.
Just a little bit.
But it feels good to beat the Patriots.
Always.
For the first time at home since 2011. And for the first time since Sean McDermott's been our head coach. So...
Yeah, I mean, there's especially with you guys, or how you guys are positioned in the division now, there's definitely still a storm a brewing with Buffalo.
It's the most Buffalo thing that the year that we'll host a playoff game, nobody will be allowed to go to it.
Yeah. I still would like some more questions or some more answers about Josh Allen's regression over the past few games.
You know, I think a big part of what's hurt him is John Brown's been injured, and that has kind of thrown off our wide receiver room. Like, Stephon Diggs is still putting up numbers, but people are double covering him constantly. Like, sure. And John Brown's got that year of rapport, behind him and Josh.
And John Brown's playing. He's just on a snap count right now, isn't he?
He's been in and out the last couple of games.
Yeah.
But yes, I agree. I think figuring out what's up with Josh and why we're going back to Hero Ball. What my biggest question would be is if it's like, is it him or is it the play calling? Because I feel like early in the season when they let him just rip with it,
he was go out there and spin it.
He was putting up yards. We were getting completions. Like, we were winning the games. Again, they still weren't close, but we were like, or they still were close, but we were putting up more points than we've been putting up lately for sure.
Yeah, and it was just an overall more. I want to use the phrase trustworthy offensive performance. Like, you could believe the way the Buffalo was playing at the beginning of the season. You could believe that if times got tough, that the offense had enough steam to where they could just keep doing what they're doing and maintain the pressure and keep putting points on the board. Now, over the past couple of weeks, even though Buffalo still won a few games over the past couple of weeks, I don't have that same. Remember at the beginning of the season where we were both struggling with a new unfamiliar feeling called confidence.
Yeah.
Especially because Buffalo isn't my team; it's just a team that I root for. That confidence is kind of waning. Maybe not so much for you, but that confidence that Buffalo can stay in games that are kind of getting away from them. I mean, look what Buffalo did to LA. Can Buffalo do that on a consistent basis? Because they're at this point in time, I'm calling it right now. Stamp it. Buffalo is going to be in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty easy take at this point.
Yeah, and then they're going to run headfirst into Kansas City, Pittsburgh, and Baltimore at some point.
Well, assuming they make it out of the first round.
Yeah, if they make it out of the first round.
The real thing is that Buffalo might get Baltimore, or if Baltimore pulls some shit, might get the Steelers in the first round.
Like the only thing disrupting that dynamic is if the Browns get their fucking heads out of their asses and figure out what we're going to do in the wild card race.
But, I could very easily see the Bills catching somebody from the AFC North in the first round, and even being a home game, that being a problem. Also, if Andrew fucking Cuomo doesn't open up the goddamn stadium and let people, this is the one time I will make an exception. Like fucking super spreading is a bad thing, but if they don't open up that goddamn stadium and let fucking fans into the game, if we're hosting a home playoff game, it'll be a goddamn tragedy.
Yeah, it'd be probably one of the saddest, simultaneously one of the happiest but most disappointing days in Buffalo history.
Yeah, it's like, hooray, we get to...
Because the last time you guys made the playoffs, it was it was a fluke.
Last year?
Yeah, last year.
When we went 10-6?
Or no, the last season you guys had Tyrod, so 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
3 years ago when you guys made the playoffs.
Yeah, that's when Andy Dalton put us in the playoffs. Best quarterback in Buffalo.
Yeah, we expected it was on the back of a team that nobody expected to win a game.
We literally won our last game and still needed Cincy to win, and they converted that ridiculous 4th and 18 or whatever for a touchdown.
Yeah, right. A little side note, a little aside of a thing that I realized I enjoyed watching a lot more than I did, because I've been watching a lot of MLB stuff. Is I enjoy watching sports teams, professional sport teams, sitting in their locker room or their facility or whatever, and just watching sports like regular people. Because the teams they're watching, it's all contingent on whether or not they move to the postseason.
Right.
So they're just sitting there on bated breath, just like the rest of us, and you can see the fear and the jubilation in their eyes and all that fun stuff. It's weird. It's nice watching people like that be humanitized occasionally.
Yeah, and if you want to see that, definitely watch the Turning Point episode that they did on that play, because it's just the entire Bills team in the locker room staring at one TV up on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And then losing it.
And then just almost destroying the locker room. Yeah. As they should. It was a big moment in Buffalo Bills history.
It was a good time. But let's talk about the now.
In the now. So, the only takeaways I really have from that game, because I didn't watch it, is pretty much the comments about Josh Allen is, I tend, from the highlights I saw and from what little bit I did watch, I tend to agree that it was a very mirrored game between the two teams. I want answers for Josh Allen because I just worry as you guys get deeper into the season because your schedule's not terrible for the rest of the year. You're playing some tough teams, but there's definitely some winnable games there. But it's the tough teams are the ones that I worry about. Like,
Yeah. No, I mean, it's what I said a couple weeks ago, where it's like I don't think the Bills are necessarily a contender at this point. Like, they've got to show me a lot more, especially on defense, and the offense has to get their shit back together again. Like, the offense has shown that they can do it, but the defense hasn't really been there all year. So, like you're saying, what's it going to be when next week we go up against Mr. Unlimited and DK Metcalf, and their defense is not really stellar right now. But
say, fortunately for you, God, dude, I want that game to be like the Josh Allen confidence builder game, because both those teams, like both the Bills and the Seahawks, have the capability just to fucking throw all over each other.
Right.
Because both secondaries are struggling right now. So, if anything, there might be some fireworks next week.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think it's Micah Hyde's injured. I think that's who Dean Marlowe, who recovered the Cam fumble, was in for. So
Gotcha.
Watch that injury report. Levi Wallace has been on and off of it. I think Josh Norman. I don't know if Josh Norman's on it right now or what. But I feel like I haven't seen him in the last couple of games. But yeah, that's about all I got. If we're ready to move on to the next one.
Sick.
Let's talk about the two teams that I briefly mentioned a minute ago as potential opponents for the Bills. The Baltimore-Pittsburgh game.
Okay.
I just wanted to briefly note that the Steelers remain undefeated.
Correct.
J.K. Dobbins came out and had a big game. 113 yards, averaging 7.5 yards per carry. And the other interesting thing is Lamar becomes the first quarterback of a trend you're going to see this week, where he lost 2 fumbles and threw 2 interceptions.
So he had 4 turnovers.
He had 4 turnovers.
And he was sacked 4 times.
Mm-hmm. How many is that, Tom Brady? E.T. phone home, Tom Brady 4 down.
Was that really a trend this week?
Yeah, so we'll get to that. But that's basically all I've got from Baltimore-Pittsburgh.
Because I have my quarterback discussion notes up, and that wasn't on my list.
Oh yeah, I got a couple more. They're coming.
Sick.
So yeah, that's all I got for Baltimore-Pittsburgh. Unless you got anything. Did you watch very many games this week? You seemed like you were not particularly in the mood.
I watched the games I wanted to watch.
Okay.
So, Baltimore-Pittsburgh was not one of them. I was hoping. Honestly, my hope was that Baltimore would beat Pittsburgh to close the division a little tighter, because it's starting to feel like Pittsburgh is perfectly poised to run away with it for the rest of the year, because they close out the back half of the season playing the Cowboys, Bengals, Jags, football team, you guys, the Bengals and the Colts, and then us, and then they have one more game with the Ravens. So like, they've already beaten the Ravens once. They've already beaten us once. Every game on that schedule is winnable for them, like without a question.
I mean, with the way the Steelers are playing right now, one would argue any team is beatable by them right now.
Well, right. Well, I just mean like they haven't gotten like the Ravens. The Ravens, the only team they've played where it was like the team. That is like that would be similar to them playing Kansas City this season. You know what I mean? Like just one of like the big AFC juggernauts. Like that ain't it anymore. They play the Ravens one more time, and then the rest of the schedule is pretty cupcake. So I'm pretty much relying on the Ravens to like keep that gap narrow, and then us. If the Ravens can split it, we can split it, and then you guys beat them. That'd be cool. Maybe an upset from the Bengals, so the whole division is split in half. I would be okay with it.
You know, if they could just go ahead and lose out, that'd be great.
Yeah, how about just everybody just start dogpiling on the Steelers?
Pittsburgh does have to come to Buffalo, so
yeah. And I think Baltimore is struggling right now with some inconsistencies on their offense. It's amazing what happens when you get a year's worth of film on somebody. The only person we've seen to kind of transcend that label was the year split from Patrick Mahomes' first year to a second year, and even this year, like, Patrick Mahomes is still playing really, really good football, but he's not looking like he's a fucking monolith of football acumen this year. Mm-hmm. So it's amazing what happens when you get some film on somebody. Got to rope in then turnovers, Baltimore, if you want to win football games. They kept it close, though.
Yeah. All right, we ready to move on?
Yeah.
All right, so my next game is the Rams and the Dolphins.
That's actually the only other game that I watched.
Okay.
Besides the late game, so cool.
So,
Tua gets a win on his first career start. Woo!
I was going to say, yeah, Tua, not statistically impressive, but didn't really need to be, because apparently this game was just wild, hot bullshit from front to back. Because, man, I watched these highlights, and holy shit. You want a stat? I got a stat for you. How many total yards do you think Miami had? Offensively.
100.
145. How many total yards do you think the Rams had offensively?
It felt like a million.
471 to 145.
Sounds about right, but...
with Jared Goff throwing for 61 attempts.
And Jared Goff continuing the trend, responsible for 4 turnovers.
And 2 picks and losing 2 fumbles.
Yep. Thus, those 4 turnovers.
Yeah. So he joins Lamar and is the second one on the list. And then I got a fun fact that I stole from a website.
Oh, yeah?
Tua is the first left-handed quarterback to start since Kellen Moore in 2015. The 4-season drought without a left-handed starting quarterback is the longest ever in the Super Bowl era.
Well, yeah, because Mike Vick played forever, except for when he was in prison.
Well, but there was none in the league, like no, or I guess no starting quarterbacks.
Gotcha.
I would assume this is starting quarterbacks.
Yeah, I would assume.
Yeah, left-handed starting quarterback.
Gotcha.
But those are basically all the notes I had. What did you see from this game? Because it felt like a game where as soon as something would go wrong for the Dolphins, it would go comically wrong for the Rams.
Yeah, I'm in the exact same camp you are. Definitely nothing impressive from Tua, but like you said, didn't really have to be. Nothing impressive from the running game, but like you said, didn't really have to be. What is impressive is Dolphins, the amount of pressure the Dolphins were able to get on the Rams offensive line and on Jared Goff directly. He was shook. He was running for his life.
He looked like he was having a bad time.
Yeah, he was pressured on more than 30% of his dropbacks.
Jesus.
That's 20 of them, or like 20-something dropbacks out of his like 50 or 60 in the game. Like,
yeah.
So every third time he snapped the ball, he had defenders in his face. That is not a way to conduct yourself.
Gotta play better football.
And the other thing is, all four of Jared Goff's turnovers occurred in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
And one was
because nothing happened in the second half.
Nothing happened in the second half. One was returned for a touchdown. And then the second half, it was like Miami was like, well, now we're up they were up 28-10. So they're like, if we just keep punting it and then shoving pressure back in Jared Goff's face, they can't climb back into this one. And one of the few times where that was relatively correct.
They were right.
They only scored one time for the rest of the fucking game. On both sides of the ball. The Rams only scored one time. It was in the fourth quarter and what was arguably garbage time at that point. It was it wasn't ugly in a way that I would normally consider an ugly game, like a low scoring, everybody looks, discombobulated and everything's all fucking shit. Like you said, this game was just wacky.
Yeah.
It was Miami's defense just pretty much saying, Sean McVay, you ain't gonna do shit. And then them just turning over the ball back and forth to each other.
I really got to say, like, of all the teams, Miami might be the Florida man of football teams. And not just because they're in Florida, because it always seems like they're the ones in the middle of some wacky bullshit.
Yeah.
Like when they beat the Patriots at the end of the year to knock them out of the number 1 seed on the fucking weird ass end around, and you're like, Gronk, how do you miss that tackle? Also, Gronk, what are you doing on punt coverage?
Yeah. Also, why are you on punt coverage?
To having the only left-handed starting quarterback in the league. Why you got to be different, Miami?
Right. Coming off of a quarterback that won a game this year, with like 4 touchdowns and 4 interceptions.
Oh yeah, that one particular game with those stats, yes.
like they're always
Gunslinger.
into some, yeah, right. I do feel like Miami's defense is definitely saving them on a lot of these games, but it's always on some like wacky shit, Like they had on this game, they like you said, there was the 2 interception, 2 fumble stat from Jared Goff. One of the turnovers were returned for a touchdown. There's an unbelievable amount of pressure in Jared Goff's face. The whole entire Rams offense was doing everything they could to recover. Like, just looking at the efficiency numbers, and I don't like to harp on stats a lot, but like Cooper Kupp had 11 receptions for 110 yards on 22 targets. Fucking Robert Woods had 7 receptions on 26 targets. They were just doing everything they could just to get the ball out of no, I read that one wrong. No, his longest reception was 27 or 26 yards. Yeah, so it's mostly just Cooper Kupp. He had 11 receptions on 20 targets. Obviously the marquee receiver of the game, and obviously just a lot of fucking Jared Goff just trying to get the fucking ball out of his hands, because Miami was mauling him like a pack of wild dogs.
Because Cooper Kupp was probably running those white people routes.
Just running white people routes. Like, just please get open, please get open. And if you're to ask me, like, a lot of people over the past couple weeks have been like, oh, the Rams seem like they're back on track, and I said it too at one point. It's like I feel like the Rams are kind of back on track, and then Miami just comes in and just goes, we're a meme. No, you're not. Brian Flores ain't nobody's bitch.
Yep. So yeah, I mean, listen, Miami's 4-3. Miami might fuck around and threaten for a playoff spot out of nowhere. Like, you gotta remember, they've got Shaq Lawson and Kyle Van Noy on that defense still.
Yeah.
Like,
and
they got some playmakers.
Yeah, and at this point in time, I know it's still a little bit early to talk about playoff picture, but Miami's only 1 or 2 games out of a wild card spot right now. Because of how the conference is shaken down.
Let's be honest, they're only 1 or 2 spots out of the division.
Yeah, fair.
Like, they've played 1 fewer game, so
yeah. So technically, they're only 2.5 games back, or some, however that stat shakes out.
I think it's because 1.5, but yeah,
because they missed a game, and they're on a 3-game winning streak. So they've turned a 1-3 into a 4-3 pretty fucking quick.
Yeah. Now, I'm not saying that's gonna fucking happen, and I think we're gonna beat the shit out of them the second time we play them, but it could.
It could. Things are looking exciting.
It would be fun if your team, my team, and Dustin's team and Darren's team made it in, and we all said "suck it" to Greg and Eagles fans everywhere.
Fuck Greg
and Joey. Your team's bad. We're gonna talk about how your team's bad later.
Hell yeah.
But if we're ready to move on,
yes.
Okay, Vikings Packers.
Didn't watch it.
Or or more specifically, Dalvin Cook versus the Packers. So that's really all I've got on this game. Is it was basically just Dalvin Cook running the ball however he wanted, and they couldn't stop him.
Nope.
And Aaron Rodgers, like, statistically didn't have a bad game. I mean, 27 for 41, just shy of 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. That's a good game.
That's a some people would call that an average Aaron Rodgers day.
Yeah, that's a bad day, but his bad days are career days.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it seems like Rodgers did what he could, and it just wasn't enough.
Yeah, it's almost like the Packers last year gave up the most yards after contact of any other team in the NFC, and then got no defensive pieces in the offseason or something.
Yeah.
Wild.
Maybe don't draft a quarterback.
Yeah, maybe don't draft a quarterback.
Next up, I've got the Tennessee Bengals game.
Boo.
Why boo?
Because the Bengals won.
Oh, now we don't like the Bengals winning? I mean,
I never liked the Bengals winning.
But you like watching Joe Burrow and watching him have a good time?
I like watching young quarterbacks succeed in the league, but they don't got to win while doing it. That's bullshit.
Yo, put up big stats, just not dubs.
Especially when my man Ryan Tannehill and D. Henry trying to go out there and run the goddamn league.
Yeah, so Tennessee slipping for the second game in a row to the Bengals, who can put up points, apparently.
I mean, arguably probably one of the most underrated offenses in the league.
Have you seen Joe Burrow throw it to T. Higgins? Because it seems like that connection is working out really well.
Yeah, I'm starting to notice a trend. Since Joe Burrow is starting to get comfortable in his own shoes, T. Higgins, man, he's open a lot for that guy. Fuck the Bengals.
Well, I felt like this was a great example of, like, in any given Sunday, this is why they play the game type of game, because the Bengals should not have come out and whooped up on the Titans like this.
No, this is a perfect example of the parity in the NFL. If you could run this, but you could probably run this game back a million times, and the Titans would win it 90% of the time. 90
million times.
Yeah, and
that's how that math works, right? Carry the
900,000 times.
Yeah, maybe. 90 million.
But on this past Sunday,
this is how it turned out.
Yep, and the Bengals did enough, like, by the fourth quarter.
Also, let me just double check this real quick to confirm. Oh shit! Who else did the Bengals beat?
So what?
Oh, that's what it just was. So
they
by my own rules, the Bengals are a better team than the Bills, because the Bills are a better team than the Chiefs. Because remember, the Bills beat the Raiders and the Raiders beat the Chiefs, so therefore the Bills are clearly better than the Chiefs. Well, the Bengals just beat the Titans and the Titans beat the Bills, so clearly the Bengals are a better team than the Bills.
Does that math hold up though? If
not even a little bit.
Because Kansas City, so like you guys lost to like.
No, it's a terrible rule. We don't have to think about it this hard. It's it's a thing.
It's a thing I said.
It's a thing I said earlier in the season, and now I'm like, well, I have to own up to this.
Because the Raiders beat the Chiefs, and you guys beat the Raiders, but the Chiefs also beat you. So we got like a rock paper scissors thing going on.
We're double better because we lost to them and then beat the Raiders, I think.
No, you beat Raiders beat Chiefs beat you. It's a rock, paper, scissors thing.
Oh, they're double better than us, then. Don't check my math on this, because
it's not. It's a fucking rock, paper, scissors thing. Nobody's double better than anyone.
Yeah, it's double plus ungood.
We're having to, like, I'm going to fucking open up Visual Studio and start writing algorithms for your bullshit.
Let's move on to the last game I have to talk about.
Out of water. You can't win a championship without water, RJ.
Water sucks. It really, really sucks.
I don't have any Gatorade. I just have G Fuel.
Uh-huh. And heart palpitations.
G Fuel's not that bad.
Okay. Let's talk about the last game, or the last game I have to talk about, because I didn't really want to talk about the Monday night game. Well, we should probably talk about the Monday night game, but
Want to talk about the Jets getting their pee-pees stomped in?
no, I don't want to talk about the Jets at all. We did the Jets minute. I want to talk about the Cowboys and the Eagles. And my number one note is, never mind, this game is just bad. But my number two note is, Carson Wentz joins the 2-pick, 2-loss fumble club.
But Ben DiNucci.
So that's a number one overall pick, a number two overall pick, and a league MVP. That's elite company right there, throwing 2 picks and losing 2 fumbles.
Hell yeah. You know what frustrates me about this Eagles game?
Like the fact that we watched it.
Yeah, I mean, it was the name of the episode last week, just defund the NFC East. But the fact that, so I'm friends with Eagles fans, and I saw enough of this game to wonder why Eagles fans were so excited about the win. Because on paper, it looks like a decent win despite the turnovers. But that was some of... Remember we talked about the difference between sloggy weather football and just ugly football?
Yeah.
This was ugly football. I would not be
bad.
proud of any product the Eagles are putting on the field right now at any point in time, aside from their almost comeback against the Pittsburgh Steelers during garbage time, where, harken back to the Herd's horrible take on quarterbacks because he just likes to shit on people. I struggle, even though they picked up the win, I'm starting to struggle to find reasons why Philly fans would be supporting Carson Wentz continuing on as the undisputed starter in this team without some kind of competition, besides the fact that you're a Philly fan.
So getting back to I don't understand why they're so excited about this win. Do you know the name of Dallas's quarterback from that game?
Ben DiNucci.
Okay, you do. All right.
I said that earlier and you blew it off.
Oh, I missed it. Sorry.
I even did the finger thing.
Sometimes I'm looking at notes and I get distracted.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens when Dak Prescott dies and then somebody tries to murder Aaron fucking what's his dick? Red Rocket.
Yep.
The Red Rifle.
Yep.
Pew,
Andy
pew.
Dalton.
Andy Dalton. A-name guy.
A-name guy.
Yeah.
It's going to be my next Madden character.
You know what? Speaking of Andy Dalton, he didn't get suspended for that hit?
Really?
Yeah, just fine, no suspension. Literally drops a shoulder into a sliding quarterback and doesn't get suspended. Literally decapitates Andy Dalton and puts him in concussion protocol. Obviously knocks him unconscious, no suspension.
Jesus.
That's... Yeah, NFL totally wants to take care of their players. Awesome.
Good job.
Yeah.
And I only have one more note, which is that the 49ers are apparently without Jimmy G and George Kittle indefinitely.
Sick. I kind of felt like that was a matter
of
time.
What's the question you've got to ask me?
So, is the 49ers season over?
Yes. Definitively.
I don't know, man. Nick Mullins looked pretty fucking good in that game. Nick Mullins looked really good.
Unless, isn't it Raheem Mostert? Isn't that their running back?
No, they're rocking some fucking third string cat right now.
No, I'm talking the 49ers. Yeah, it's Mostert.
Yeah, Mostert didn't play. They're rocking some fucking third string guy right now. Mostert's injured too.
Oh, okay. Well, then, yeah, they got nothing.
Yeah, they got Jamichael Hasty.
That's a... You know what? That's a good name for a running back.
I told you they got some weird named guy.
if your last name is Hasty, that's a good name for a running back.
Nah, Nick Mullins did all right. They can turn it around. It's fine.
And then, of course, there's Juszczyk, which looks like somebody fucking threw up on a Scrabble board.
Just a little bit. Yeah.
But that's about all the notes I have for this week. You got anything else you want to talk about?
DK Metcalf still a freak.
It's accurate.
Glad he's still winning me fantasy games.
Still wish we had drafted him.
Just a little bit. Sorry to make you edit, RJ. I'm sorry.
Whatever. It's just one big cut at this point.
So you asked me, is there anything else I wanted to talk about?
Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about? I'll give you something to talk about.
Yeah. Games-wise, just brushing over the scores. Atlanta didn't fuck it up this week, so that's cool. And fucking New Orleans squeaked one out in overtime. They need to figure out what the fuck they're going to do.
Trade for a linebacker, apparently, is what they're going to do.
Correct. That defense needs to figure it out. Nick Foles probably had one of the better performances this season, but it's against a relatively pedestrian secondary because they're struggling with injury and play. Drew Brees continuing to look like an aging game manager at this point, while Tom Brady is not, because he's out there just slinging the rock.
Yep.
Yeah.
Really annoying.
Yeah. So speaking of Tom Brady, we're going to move into the news section.
Ooh, news.
So we never covered Antonio Brown to Tampa Bay.
Send news. Did we not?
No.
Okay. Hey, I hear Antonio Brown's going to Tampa Bay.
Yeah. And if we did, it hasn't come up again. So the little part that if we did talk, Antonio Brown's going to Tampa Bay. That's a time bomb thing. They're going to keep an eye on him, all that fun stuff. It's
now been 0 days since we talked about Antonio Brown.
But the only interesting part of it that I want to talk about is Antonio Brown is currently actually living with Tom Brady until he gets a place in Tampa Bay.
I'm sure the house is big enough.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure Tampa Bay, like the team or the city or both, bought him a fucking house to move down there.
Do you think they carpool?
Oh, 100%. They like do like the virtual team meetings in Tom Brady's 70 fucking seat theater, and then they carpool to the fucking facility. And when he was questioned, he said, "I'm just being a good teammate." So, good guy, Tom.
Good Tom.
Yeah, second time he's played with Antonio Brown. I'm morbidly curious to see Antonio Brown on the field, lining if he retains. Evidently, he's been reporting to like workouts like in very good shape, like not much conditioning they've had to do.
So I've heard.
It's mostly just offensive scheme, getting him comfortable in Bruce Arians' ridiculously fucking aggressive offense. Him lining up with Rob Gronkowski, who's finally getting more involved, Mike Evans, and just the myriad of secondary rotational pass catchers that team has.
Hasn't Mike Evans been kind of hurt, though?
He's been playing with like a nagging injury, but he's still been the feature guy.
Okay.
Like, he's obviously something he can play through. Because you're not... Look, Mike Evans is a big dude. You don't gotta be that fast when you're just a big dude. So I'm morbidly curious about how that offense is going to turn out with adding another weapon like Antonio Brown. Even if Antonio Brown is like 70% of what he used to be, that's still a really good fucking receiver to have rotationally or playing in the slot or being like your coverage decoy. Because now you have... Because he can find gaps in... He's a zone. He can read a zone like no other receiver in the league. So even if he's just coming at you with his brain and like 60% of what he used to be, that's still a scary fucking receiver. It totally disrupts the zone. If you're playing a zone heavy defense, it totally disrupts the zone and breaks out other receivers open, because then they're going to start paying attention to him.
Right.
And that team has too many weapons to want to pay attention to anybody but their weapons. So. That's kind of interesting. It's a thing I want to keep an eye on. But really, besides that, we got our first mid-season quarterback tier list.
Oh, yeah?
And the results may not surprise you. Because 1, 2, and 3 is Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, and Ben Roethlisberger.
I would have said Aaron Rodgers, but...
They're kind of taking into account records as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, as far as some surprises on this list, so the way I'm referencing ESPN at this point. Some surprises on this list that I kind of wanted to talk about was they quantified it with like little, instead of it like just being a straight up like 1 through 32, it's like categories, and this is the best quarterback that fits the category. So, and some of these category names were pretty funny to me. So obviously they have like emerging rookie of the year, Justin Herbert in Los Angeles, because that dude is playing. I might have to eat crow about Justin Herbert over Tua Tagovailoa, depending on how Tua plays when his offense needs him to actually throw the ball. And right under that is most irrelevant debut, Tua Tagovailoa, which I can tend to agree with. But the one that cracked me up was Baker Mayfield got a category. It's the Leave Me Alone Award. So he's
got like 3 paragraphs too,
right? And their justification of it is pretty much the ineffectiveness. Like when they're breaking down his stats for the season, he's the most ineffective when he's being pressured, and that happens to every quarterback in the league. So maybe we should give him a little bit of slack since he's pretty much performing as a standard quarterback in the league would. He is, in my opinion, underperforming his first-round pick Heisman status kind of thing.
Right.
But, we're getting to the point in the conversation with Baker Mayfield, like we talked about last week and the week before. Now the news cycles are just like, why? Can we stop talking about Baker Mayfield? Like, he's okay. He is average. Can we just leave him alone and let the team do whatever the fuck they need to do? And it's just like, thank you, Jesus. I got people on my side.
Still 5-3, and he's playing fine.
Yeah, 5-3, and he's playing fine. The defense needs to figure it out. Biggest disappointment candidates: Carson Wentz and Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, about that Carson Wentz at number 1.
Yeah, so especially when it comes to biggest disappointment, you've already expressed your arguing maybe instead of Ben Roethlisberger being on the list, somebody else.
Aaron.
Yeah, Aaron, especially for the category of best throw, because Aaron has the sickest slang in the league. But any going back to biggest disappointment with Carson Wentz, any argument in that front? Is Carson Wentz just a huge disappointment at this point?
I think Carson Wentz is a broken product. I mean, I said this on the internet the other day. Maybe I'm not sure if you saw it or not.
I didn't see it. That's an interesting take, though. Explain.
Yeah, I got into a back and forth with a friend of ours, who I've said fuck off to twice already on this podcast, I believe. Love you, buddy. But we basically got into this thing where, he was excited about the Eagles winning, and I was like, why? Was my main take. But Carson Wentz at this point, I think, is just a broken product. He's both physically and potentially at this point mentally not there. It almost feels like when Andrew Luck was trying to play through all of his injuries and stuff, and it's you could see that the will is clearly there, but the body just isn't. Carson, he still seems effective as an athlete and as a thrower, most of the time, but there's just this element there, and I don't even watch him that frequently, so maybe this is just of the little bit that I've seen. But, I watched a fair amount of that Eagles-Dallas game, and it was not fun to watch. And it's just he's not the number one, he's not the 1A, 1B quarterback of the draft that he once was. And I think getting injured and then watching somebody else win a Super Bowl plays into that when you can't turn around and reproduce that.
Yeah, and there's some startling stats along with the Carson Wentz.
And they're paying him a lot of money.
They're paying him a lot of money. And there's some startling stats when it comes to Carson Wentz and his play this year. He's his turnover total is a 16.
Jesus. Yeah, that's...
Yeah. I don't care how much grit you have. If you're not winning games early and taking care of the ball, comeback wins aren't impressive. Comeback wins don't win playoff games.
Right. I mean, because even what's the big knock on Josh Allen right now? It's ball security and stuff, and he's still barely turning it over. If Josh Allen had 16 turnovers right now, the Bills would be a laughing stock.
Yeah, we'd be having a completely different Buffalo conversation. So, the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because I'm starting to feel like sports media at this point is starting to get very polarized about Carson Wentz. It's either like they're keeping him in high regard because of his toughness and his tenacity, which 100% agree.
Yeah, respect that.
I respect that, and he's one of the toughest sumbitches out there in the field right now. But he's kind of doing the same thing, like you said, Andrew Luck is, where he's either not being protected or he's not protecting himself, which is showing a lot of inefficiency on the field when it comes to just going and playing football.
Yeah.
You know, they're having to rely.
The best ability is availability.
Yeah, they're having to play they're having to do a lot of schoolyard bullshit to stay in these fucking games because Carson Wentz just doesn't have any help, and the team is not built around him to succeed the way it was when they went to the Super Bowl 3 years ago.
No.
And he didn't even win that game. Like, he got hurt in the regular season, and luckily they had Nick Foles, who's great for 6 games, and that's it.
He got a good him and Ryan Fitzpatrick got a solid 5 or 6. Nick Foles, the only difference is he can string them together most of the time.
Yep.
Ryan's like, oops, I won one.
Mm-hmm. So, staying on quarterbacks, breaking news. Not really. This was from almost 2 hours ago. Matt Stafford. He's on the reserved COVID-19 list.
On that COVID.
Yeah. Thoughts?
He caught that
opinions?
purple stuff.
Concerns? I think the Lions are bad, so I don't really.
I was going to say, yeah, what am I concerned about? They already suck. Yeah. I mean.
Yeah, so that's unfortunate. Don't like seeing people getting the COVID.
Yeah, T's and P's to Stafford, especially since he had a false positive earlier this year. And, and he got ran out of town because of it.
Yeah, right? And all this really means, though, the COVID, the reserve COVID-19 list, all it means is that he either tested positive or was in close contact with somebody who did.
Right.
So he may not have it, but he was around somebody that did.
Yeah, because I think it was for Buffalo, Dawson Knox tested positive and the whole tight end room got taken out because of it.
Yep, and they still ain't there.
Yeah.
So according to Matt Patricia, it's not going to change anything. Blah blah blah. It's a moot point.
Is David Blah still their backup?
I think so. And like Matthew Stafford's literally the only good thing that team has going for him. So
yeah, that and the $1 million they're saving from paying Calvin Johnson.
Yes.
Which is a really obscure thing, but you know. Yep, David Blah.
David Blah.
And then Chase Daniel. So we'll see who starts.
Yep. Are we gonna have a quarterback controversy mid-season?
Probably not.
Probably not. So who do the Bills play next week?
Seattle.
How do you feel about that game? I know we touched on it briefly, but
I mean, Seattle's got to travel to Buffalo, but I think I heard a stat where fucking Russell Wilson's 10-0 in his last 10 games on the East Coast. So that doesn't fill me with confidence.
He's bringing the kitchen back to the East Coast, baby.
Yeah, it's like, no, I swear to God, Russell's like, oh, and I've got time to get back home for church. Like,
right. Yeah, there's a 3-hour time difference. It won't affect my day at all.
Yeah, like.
Yeah, is it a primetime game or is it just a?
I want to say it's regular 1 in the afternoon.
Gotcha. Kind of nice if it'd be kind of nice if a marquee matchup like that was a primetime game.
Well, our next primetime game. Well, we have back-to-back primetime games coming up. Mm-hmm. It's in a couple weeks, but at the 49ers and then versus the Steelers are both late night games. I think one's a Sunday night, one's a Monday night.
Gotcha. Yeah, next week. Although next week's primetime game's going to be New Orleans and Tampa Bay, so I'm not necessarily super mad about that.
Yeah, so it's 49ers primetime, Steelers primetime, at Broncos, which is TBD, so that could be flexed to a primetime, and then at Patriots primetime. So
hell yeah, getting some primetime love.
Right at the end of the season when it's probably important. And again, we were supposed to have our Thursday night game against the Chiefs, but that got pushed. But that ended up basically being a Monday night game. So
gotcha.
Monday afternoon game. Yeah, kind of like we were talking about a little bit earlier. It might be a game where both teams throw all over each other. So It'll be interesting. We'll see how Trey White matches up against DK Metcalf.
Boy.
Gonna bet that's not gonna go great.
I bet you DK could run him down.
Yeah. Jordan Poyer for like a big pick on DK. Like some crossing route in the end zone shit.
So, probably. I have a question for you, RJ.
What's up?
So, Javon Wims, they upheld his 2-game suspension. Are you familiar with this situation?
Oh, is this the dude who punched the other dude?
Yeah. Why do people punch people in the helmet?
Yo, I think we've talked about this before and just said you shouldn't do that because it's stupid.
I'm going to keep bringing it up every time I fucking see it because it's stupid.
Also, did you hear how long it was in between those like cornerback did something and then like 11 plays later.
Yeah, he was just like,
no, not 11 plays, 11 minutes later.
Yeah, he waited. Good on Javon Wims for waiting until it didn't affect the game. That's pretty much what was affirmed, was like it occurred when he knew it wouldn't affect the game, but he was going to get that boy back.
Wow.
And it's like he literally just walked up to CJ and punched him in the side of the helmet. And then CJ's reaction was classic. It was just like, the fuck? And then he punched him again. He got suspended, but Andy Dalton's attempted murderer didn't. So that's cool.
I guess you punch him in the helmet because, like, it's hard to aim for an arm. You're wearing chest armor anyways. There's an unwritten rule about you don't go below the belt. I don't know.
Just sneak a pencil in your sock and stab him or something. I don't know.
Just suplex him.
Like, seriously? Fucking
get some NFL blitz on and just like put that man on his back.
Yeah, this game is football is weird.
Or just like get an illegal block in the back later on. I don't know. Fuck.
So, a quick rundown of a couple other things. The 49ers had to shut down their entire facility due to a COVID positive.
Hot.
Because one of their wide receivers tested positive. It looks like Christian McCaffrey's on the mend, and he's going to be back shortly.
That's good. And
the Jets are officially the favorite for the number 1 pick by the end of the year. Who would have thunk it?
53.7% or 57.3%, something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. Surprising literally no one.
Literally no one. So, Keith, how do I feel about our projections for next week? I feel pretty good.
Well, you can't lose.
I don't have to watch football, so that's nice. I don't have to watch Browns football, that is. I don't have to chew a hole in my tongue.
Yeah, you will watch football because I think the Seahawks-Bills game will be one to watch.
Yes, no, there's going to be some good football next week.
Is there any other good football next week?
Oh yeah, dude. We got
Raiders-Chargers could be good.
Yeah, Raiders-Chargers, fucking Green Bay,
shit.
San Francisco.
Miami, Arizona, there's a barn burner waiting to happen.
Oh, boy. And then the primetime game on Sunday is going to be New Orleans and Tampa Bay. So,
oh, my God. The Monday night game is New England and the Jets.
I know.
Who decided that? Why is that not Buffalo, people. Seattle? They should just switch
I think they
them.
should flex that game. They should have flexed that game, yeah. Because nobody wants to watch New England in its current state play the fucking Jets.
No.
Nobody.
Oh, and then I saw some ridiculous stat on Cam where it's like, since he came back from COVID, he's like 0-3, thrown 5 interceptions, like some other like garbage nonsense. Like, he was not having a good game.
He can't smell the football right.
Yeah. He can't smell. Well, if he keeps playing like this, he's going to smell what the Rock's cooking. In the fucking XFL. Was the joke I was making.
Yeah, I got it. You had to lead me there a little bit, but I got it.
It's always better when you got to explain it.
Yeah, I keep forgetting the Rock bought the XFL.
Hell yeah, he did.
Wild. Because they're going to play eventually at some point. Probably not.
Nah, they probably will.
Yeah.
They probably will. But if that's all we've got to talk about... So that's been the Fourth and Wrong podcast for November the 4th, 2020. Say goodbye, Keith.
Yeah, it has, bro.
Yeah.
Bye, Keith.
I hate that. We have slightly breaking news.
Oh, yeah?
Matthew Stafford is on the COVID-19 reserve list.
Man, that wasn't breaking news. That's on my list. I'm looking at it right now.
Oh, sorry. I just looked at my phone. I mean, I can cut that out.
It's like an hour and a half ago.
You're like an hour and a half ago.
This podcast was an hour and a half ago.
I was going to say, how long have we been recording for?
1 hour and 8 minutes.
That's how long it's been since I looked at my phone.
Yeah.
Also, The Athletic, not always the fastest news reporter.
Fuckers.
I don't know how that's going to look at the end.